Thank you very much, guys. You did it. Bjergsen locked in that spot in the quarterfinal. Let us talk a little bit about this very important game because they came out with some strong bans there. The Nami, the Rumble, and the Janna come in. How did that affect your game plan?
I feel like it's something we haven't really seen before, people trying to ban out Lustboy, but he's a really dominant force in the team, and people are slowly picking up that Lustboy he does a lot in all these games, and especially on the Nami Janna, so they tried to ban him out, but obviously had a really good showing on Braum, and Dire still had a great showing on Lulu, so we managed to be able to pick around those bans.
Yeah, then tell me, what did you think of the composition they eventually came out with, which was their plan, and how the early game went for you guys? Not an ace at 13 minutes, still a pretty good early game.
I think both comps are really, really good. They're just very different. They want to be looking for the flanks and some kind of like the insta-kill with the flank on Maokai and then Kha'Zix and Yasuo just jumping on the same target. But luckily we had a lot of shields. We had Lulu, Braum to just defend those targets when they try to go in and burst down one guy. And I think our comp just worked really well for our playstyle, and I think their comp worked for their playstyle. And altogether we just ended up winning the game.
You did win the game. As I said, you locked in your place for the next round. What were the first thoughts about that? Because you said something here before that wasn't as positive.
Well, obviously, it's really awesome to have qualified and be able to go to the quarterfinals, but I wouldn't really say it's much of an achievement to go to quarterfinals if you're going to play against White anyway. So we're pretty much just looking to beat Royal and go big or go home. Yeah,
go big or go home. Loco said you definitely have it in you guys to beat them. Did you feel personally outclassed in that game versus Royal Club, or was it the team?
I wouldn't say any of us got personally outclassed. This is mostly how we came from the picking phase. We picked way different than we've done all the other games, and we're definitely looking to change that for the next game. I think we just need to reset and think that we had a bad plan going into the game and we had bad picks, and as soon as we can change that, we're going to do a lot better.
And that's the story we heard as well. Final question, I also asked Loco, what do you think is a growing margin for this TSM in this tournament? He said, not that big as of right now, but what for you personally? This is in the end your first World Championship, even though you're very experienced already.
Sorry?
Your growth margin, you can see yourself going if you face off against these best mid laners in the world.
I'd like to go as far as we can, obviously. I think White's probably one of the best teams there, maybe even the best team in the world. So I would love to face up against White in the finals. That's pretty much my dream for now.
All right, fantastic. Well, congratulations on locking in that spot. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, now we're going to kick it back over to the guys at the desk.
Thank you very much, Sharks. Congratulations to both Bjergsen, Team SoloMid, and the Starhorn Royal Club. They both teams lock in their spots in the quarterfinals. I think before we talk about the quarterfinals, let's talk about this matchup first. Focus on how much more decisive TSM were. If you contrast how they beat TPA yesterday, dragged out that end game.
Yeah.
Today it was much clearer, and they punished once they got ahead.
I can just speak for the bottom lane. It seems like BB and J just didn't really learn the matchups correctly because they come from such an underdeveloped region. No offense to Southeast Asia, but just like if you pick Twitch blind and you know that they could potentially be picking Trist and Braum, which are the two hardest counters to Twitch. Braum because his shield blocks spray and pray, and Trist because she's impossible to pick, which is exactly what Twitch was looking for. It's just so hard.
One thing,
they didn't pick it blind.
They picked it into Tristan Braum.
It's even worse. They actually... Like,
why is it worse?
Well, I can see why Twitch is good in their composition and what they want to do with it, but you need to get out of laning phase with enough items and start making picks around the map. I know Monty wants to chime in here, so I'll just let him go and then I'll finish my point.
Yeah, it's just with this team composition too, there's always the possibility of a lane swap here because Lulu is being picked as a lane bully to Maokai because TSM can't play Nidalee, so it's still a very effective pick in the laning phase, so why you would enter into two losing lanes instead of lane swapping is a bit of a mystery.
Yeah, and actually I think this keeps kind of spilling into how TPA seem to not be on the right page strategically. Anytime you've got these many kills over like a red buff when you're already behind, it's like TPA is walking into unwarded areas or warded areas knowing they're going to die. Like unless you're setting up Baron baits or sieges, like you shouldn't be fighting TSM.
Going back a little bit to the Twitch pick though, initially I watched the laning phase from like level 1 to 5 again, and I think TPA could have actually won the race to level 2, but they completely chickened out. That initially just gave TSM the freedom they needed with the Braum Trist lane. They kept pushing them in and in and in. And even later, Lustboy actually, I think, in my opinion, missed 2 kill opportunities on Twitch and lane, but it didn't matter because TSM chose for like safety, and they knew they were going to get it objective control based and teamfight based. But it kind of worries me for tomorrow because if you don't capitalize on those pick opportunities with Braum, then you might just get exploded in the lane again.
Well, I'm happy you talked about the objectives with team fights. Let's actually pull the first replay up on the screen. It is going to be a dragon fight where Jat praised TSM for the decisive peel to pick the fight with TPA. Monty, talk us through this play.
Sure. Well, let's just get it rolling right here. I mean, TSM's already grouped, so that's going to force the teleport coming in from Achi in the top lane. And pause here. Let's go for that. Oh, let's keep playing. Okay, there we go. So right here, you can see as soon as the teleport is seen, they immediately split down onto the bottom side, and that just gives them so many opportunities. And because Jay actually decided to go in for the hook right there, if we also look at Lustboy, he's already blocking the entirety of Spray and Pray on most of the squishy members of his team, and he's also going to get exhausted as soon as the shield goes down. Meanwhile, without Thresh there, he's already used all his cooldowns, he's going to die. The only further setup they have for a Yasuo ult is Arcane Smash from Maokai, and Yasuo just can't engage as quickly because he has to wait for the Maokai to get there.
In general, if you want to do a pincer, you need to make sure that your tanky side goes in first, and you need to make sure that you don't get engaged on from the side. If that means you have to drop Dragon, that means you have to drop Dragon. I think we can play the fight out and we can see what's going to happen. The exhaust comes in here as well. TSM's just moving right, and they're basically killing anything on their way. And by the time Maokai and Yasuo enter the fight, it's too late. Bjergsen still has his ulti. It's going to pop it right here on Maokai, and they're just going to clean up. And this is basically TSM reacting. They know if they stay on that Dragon, they're going to get pincered. So they just want to move quickly to the right side, clean up the area, and then the remaining members coming in from TPA are just simply too late. And TPA just... yeah, they bit off more than they can chew on the right side of that play, so they should have held their pincer, tanky side goes in first, and then collapse, and it would have been a good play.
So let's move this conversation on a little bit. TSM, much more dominant than yesterday against TPA. They do seem to have strong signs of strength in this group stage at differing times. Two things I want to talk about quarterfinals. Number one, Nidalee. It is a champion that over the last 17 consecutive games has been banned while featuring TSM in the matchup. 16 times they have banned it, and once TPA did it against them. Massive mistake. Freak, care to comment on that before we move on to some of the positives?
This is the interesting thing because we've talked to Darius a couple of times in the NALCS desk, and he says the reason he is still on TSM, this is a team with many roster swaps almost every single year, is he says, I can adapt to the current game, I can keep myself relevant, and here's his very obvious example to the contrary, and I'm surprised by that because by his own admission, he says he's such an adaptive top laner.
Not to mention that his rise was really not very impressive either. So, I mean, these are going to be, as the tournament goes on, two very important picks as we head into best of fives and other scenarios in the quarterfinals. So it's a bit concerning, it is.
He had a strong rumble as well. Keep that in mind. Something that is showing may show through a little later. I just want to give some more props to Bjergsen as well. Between both groups, considering how heavy some of these victories and wins have been, he currently holds the highest CS at 10 and 20 minutes across both groups. Very strong champion pool. 4 champions played in 4 games. Definitely a shining light for the team. Doublelift, as TSM are looking forward, they can still place first or second in the group. First and second is still up for grabs in Group A. They don't know if they're facing Edward Gaming or Samsung White. Let's talk a little bit more about TSM before we move on.
I think definitely TSM's bottom lane has stepped up. I mean, Lustboy is doing extremely well in lane, and then Wild Turtle, you can see he does really well when his team offers him protection. So if TSM just runs that signature TSM comp, which to me is the double shield, Lulu Ori with Tristana, they can run whatever they want. They can run Nunu, they can run Kha'Zix, they can run Elise, whatever Amazing is comfortable on. But as long as they have that double shield comp, I don't see TSM really losing. So people just either need to ban that out or take it away from them.
Not even to Edward Gaming and Samsung White in the potential quarterfinals?
Oh,
yeah, that's
Samsung White's a rough one, but EDG, it should be easy.
I don't know. I think both those teams will just pick smarter into what TSM is gonna pick. I really like the strategy TPA went with. Forcing Lustboy on obvious support picks. Having do you know what he's gonna play already by the second rotation in picks and bans. I just don't think the Twitch pick was just smart here.
Final thought from Double before we really have to move.
As smart as you pick against TSM, if you allow them to play what they're best at, then you're just putting yourself at such a big disadvantage. You should take away, if you want to beat TSM, you take away what they're best at. And to me, this comp is just signifies that's TSM right now.
And I just want to close out and say that this is really a big achievement for TSM in North America. This is the first time since Season 1 that a North American team has made it out of the position they were seeded in, meaning if they were seeded into the quarters, they lost, and if they were seeded into groups, they lost. But TSM has made it through groups and advanced, and we haven't seen that from NA in a couple years.
And what's going to be more interesting is exactly where they end up, because if they can channel some of the strength, They may give Star Horn Royal Club a run for their money tomorrow. Maybe not. We'll get to that. We have taken a little longer than we needed to. So, coming up on Game 5 of today's World Group Stage, let's take a look at where the teams stand thus far after completing 4 games. We already know that both Samsung White, Edward Gaming, Star Horn Royal Club, and Team SoloMid are all guaranteed a spot in the quarterfinals. It's the seeding that will be determined today and tomorrow. Guys, we are going to step away for just a moment. When we return, Dark Passage will face Edward Gaming on the Rift. Actually, I've just done my math. If Edward Gaming win that, when they win that, they'll guarantee their spot. Guys, we'll be right back.
Straight in, Jay's going to be the target. Amazing gets on towards him. Doesn't quite get the kickoff, but it doesn't matter. The kill is there. And now it's going to be Morning. He finds Dyrus, but again, the Wild Growth is strong enough. And Morning's now in trouble. He's going to get picked off. BB comes around. He's just not got the damage. though. Wild Turtle does.
Turtle's going to get the reset. Jumps on the Morning to make sure he can't get away. The Sapling's still trying to do what it can. Triple kill for the young Turtle.
They're going to be wondering just how far can they go in this group.
The last shot of it. What an amazing shockwave coming in.